Okay, welcome back, everybody, in our group. Tonight is Friday, March 10th, 2023. And as you can see, once again, I am coming to you from the home base outside of Wister, Oklahoma. And you can see a new poster back there, a nice scenic looking stream or creek, as we like to say in Oklahoma. My wife didn't approve of doubling my budget, but she did give me a $5 increase. So it went from $10 to $15. So I was able to get me that nice poster at a nice secondhand store for a couple bucks. But seriously, glad you're back. I've been working on doing some films on site, some videos on site, which I'll share in the future. So tonight I'm just going to do a short one that I think you'll like. It's very interesting. But first, let me make a plug for our state's official tourism website, Travel Oklahoma. And the website is travelok.com. And it's a nice website that breaks it down into several categories, the 6 different regions or countries in Oklahoma, things you can do like nature and outdoors, Route 66, history and heritage, places to stay, campgrounds, cabins, state parks, things like that. Then a section just on state parks, festivals, events. It's really a nice website. And I wanted to make you aware that you can go to the website, as you see here, and get all kinds of free travel brochures. You can download them onto your computer, or you can order them in a paper format. And again, they are free, as well as shipping is free. Basically, we've already paid for these things with our tax dollars. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. You can get an official state map. This is the 2023 one. Here is this year's official Oklahoma travel guide 2023. And you can get a brochure on each different section or region of the state. Like I said, there's 6 different regions. Sometimes they're called the 6 countries of Oklahoma, like green country, red carpet country, frontier country. There's 6 of those, and you can get a individual brochure on each one of them. You can get a nice Oklahoma Indian country guide. One state, many nations. You can get a little booklet, which I'll be using in the future, on Oklahoma's African American history and culture. Get a nice guide to outdoor state parks or Oklahoma state parks. And then if you're a person who likes music, as I do, rhythm and routes, Oklahoma's music trail. And it gives you places to go to hear music and gives you some historical information about music in Oklahoma. For those of you that like to ride motorcycles, you can get a little booklet on Oklahoma's motorcycle trails. So, and then you can get an official Oklahoma US 66 passport with all of the unique places on Route 66. And if you go there, you can get a stamp. So just wanted to let you know about that. You know, times might be tough economically. You can't maybe take a vacation to Florida or Disneyland in California, but you can take trips here in our great state, and they're a lot cheaper and a lot closer. So anyway, tonight, want to share with you something that will be a historical slash little known fact slash surprising part of Oklahoma. At least I think it'll be surprising to many people, and it's a little known fact. Unless you are one who is in the field of aviation. Now, Oklahoma has a rich history in aviation, and most famously probably connected with Wiley Post and Will Rogers. But did you know that there's a connection in Oklahoma to Charles Lindbergh and the first coast-to-coast commercial air travel option for ordinary citizens? Most people don't know that. And some even more surprising things about it is you put Charles Lindbergh, you put the third largest hangar in the United States at one time. You put Waynoka, Oklahoma. And you put a lot of innovations that still affect modern air travel today into what I'm going to share with you right now. I first learned of it. I am a member of the Oklahoma Historical Society, and so if you're a member of that, and you can be a member of the Oklahoma Historical Society for only $50 a year, and that gets you free entry into every state park, and you will get the Journal of the Oklahoma Historical Society called the Chronicles of Oklahoma, 4 editions a year, plus access to every edition they have ever come out with online. So this is from the summer of 2016, and I read this article back then and was surprised to learn that in 1928, Charles Lindbergh and another entrepreneur founded and let me bring it up for you so you don't have to look at my mug, the Transcontinental Air Transport Incorporation, or TATE. And that officially began in May of 1928. And the dream for these men and this air service was to provide coast to coast from New York City to Los Angeles, coast to coast travel in 48 hours. Now, after the end of World War I, air travel was still primarily regulated to air mail service. In other words, the primary use of airplanes at that time was for carrying mail. Individuals could, from time to time, ride on one of those planes to get to a place, but not many people did. So Lindbergh and his associate had a dream for commercial air service from New York to Los Angeles in 48 hours. So in January of 1929, after they had incorporated and I'm sure had several planning meetings, they went across the country to plan places of places where the planes would fly to and make a layover and refuel. Now, one thing also you need to know about this is it was not primarily air; it was an air slash railroad service. So, the first leg of the trip, for example, from New York City, was a train ride to Columbus, Ohio. And then in Columbus, you got on an airplane. You got on an airplane and took it to eventually Waynoka, Oklahoma. During that January 1929 cross-country trip that Lindbergh took, trying to find places to have layovers. Originally, I believe it was Dodge City, Kansas, they were looking at. But Lindbergh liked the area around Waynoka better because the Santa Fe Railroad came from Kansas City down through Waynoka and then on to Clovis, New Mexico. And they found a nice open area really northeast of Waynoka. I'll show you the location here in a little bit. And so when that area was chosen outside of Waynoka, Oklahoma. And like I said, passengers would get off of the train in Columbus, Ohio, and then get on a plane there. And after several stops, would land in Waynoka. And at Waynoka, they would then get on the second train portion of the trip and take the train to Clovis, New Mexico, where they would then get on another plane in Clovis and then fly on into Los Angeles. Now, Tate also had a west to east plane route, and it was the same route, just backwards, Los Angeles to Clovis, get on a train to Waynoka, get back on a plane in Waynoka, take it to Columbus, and then the final train leg to New York City. So Waynoka was chosen in January of 1929. In March of 1929, the town of Waynoka gathered for an official groundbreaking ceremony out there northeast of Waynoka. 5,000 people showed up. And I think Waynoka was maybe 1,600 people at the time. In June of 1929, the airport was finished and they had the what they would call, they've already had the groundbreaking, so this was the official, let me find it here, sorry about this. They had the official dedication on June 22nd, 1929. Now, like I said earlier, the third largest hangar in the United States. So let me bring up a picture of the hangar that was there at the time. Giving you a little music there. Oh, sorry, I knew where I should have gone. Here you go. So this hangar here was the third largest in the United States when it opened in 1929, or when it was completed. The only two cities that had larger hangars were Chicago, Illinois, in Los Angeles, California. Today, all that's left is the concrete slab on which a local farmer has built a barn to store hay. And I'll show you an aerial picture of that here in a little bit from Google Maps. But the third largest hangar, and that airport was dedicated in June of 1929. The first flight for Tate was July 7th and 8th. And here you can see an actual advertisement for the Coast to Coast in 48 hours. This is the July 7th and July 8th first trip. I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can see on this map. Well, you can see the route here, New York, to Columbus. And then they would make stops in Indianapolis, St. Louis, Kansas City, Wichita, and then Waynoka. Get on the train to Clovis, then fly to Los Angeles with layovers in Albuquerque, Winslow, and Kingman. And then even they also had another route besides the east-west coast route for people in California from Los Angeles to San Francisco. So sometimes it was called the plane. Whoops, sorry. That's not the one I want. The train plane trail. That's it. The train plane trail. And so this was the transatlantic air transport service that began in 1929. Now, inside the plane, passengers sat in wicker seats, and their belts were connected to the frame of the plane. Now, once they got to cruising altitude, they didn't have to wear their safety belts. But if they got in turbulent air, they would have to strap on those belts, and they're connected, and I believe that's one of them, connected to the fuselage. So that's pretty interesting, I thought. Now, these planes were only 425 horsepower. They were called a Ford tri-motor plane. I think it's the same plane that Lindbergh flew around the world in 1927. I think it was called the Flying Goose or the Gray Goose. I'm not for sure on that, but it flew at about 2,500 feet. So they really kind of build it as a service to get you from coast to coast or somewhere in between, but also a great opportunity to sightsee. And so one of the services on the TAT air service was you would get meals, and that was an innovation, serving in-flight meals. But they also had printed up kind of like if you go to like a tourist attraction, let's say you go to Washington, D.C. to tour the Capitol. And just the Washington, D.C. area, you would get a tour map of all the locations. So if you were a passenger, you would get a like a guide to help you look for landmarks from the plane, a building on the University of Missouri, and other things like that. One thing that I thought was cool, and I'm going to have to look for now on eBay and other places, try to get it for my collection, is a commemorative brass paperweight for the opening of the first railway transcontinental passenger service. So here is the paperweight. The Pennsylvania Railroad harnessing the plane and the iron horse. But what I like about it is it's got the route on the bottom of the paperweight, and it includes Columbus, St. Louis, Clovis, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and Waynoka, Oklahoma. So I think I'd like to get a commemorative paperweight. It's got a Santa Fe stamp for the Santa Fe Railroad. And actually there was two rail services that were a part of this, Santa Fe and Pennsylvania Railroad. So you took the Pennsylvania Railroad from New York to Columbus, and you took the Santa Fe Railroad from Waynoka to Clovis. So if anyone has an extra one that you'd like to give to me, or maybe sell pretty cheap, keeping in mind my low budget, I'd love to have a copy. Okay, last thing I want to show you is I told you that all that's left now is the concrete slab of the hangar. So let me go to my Google map now, and I'm going to put a lot of links. I'm going to put all these links that I just showed you, like the picture of the woman in the wicker seat, the commemorative paperweight, the maps, and the advertisements. I'm going to put all the links to that in the comment section, as well as the coordinates to the field. So here's the Google map. Here's Waynoka. Here is the location. So I'm going to switch over to satellite view, and now we'll zoom in. And the reason I know this is it was there was a picture in the journal, the Chronicles of Oklahoma article. So here it is. This is the concrete slab. And so just so you can see, this is the barn to give you perspective. There's a truck. There are lines of hay bales. I'm not sure if this is pieces of the slab that growth has grown through, but another part of the airport are these two buildings that are also remains of the airport that were next to the hangar. So I might get a little close. No, that's as close as it's going to get. So I'm going to have that direct satellite coordinates in the comments as well. But, oh, one more thing. Here's the Santa Fe line. This is the Santa Fe line. That was a reason they put it right here. It was so, it would have been just great access to get off the plane. They had a nice building. They had a nice airport building with a restaurant in it where passengers could get a meal and then jump on the train to Clovis. So So I know I went a little longer tonight, but I hope I kept it interesting, and I hope you found it interesting. And check out the links and let me know what you think about this in the comments. Let me know if you've heard about it. And if you know, well, I'd like to know if it was surprising to you, something you had never heard before. And if you had heard about it, I'd like to hear from you too. So anyway, have a great evening, and thanks again for joining. Thanks again for being a part of the History Raw webpage. And I'll try to start getting more other history items throughout the week on there, instead of just focusing on the Oklahoma aspects. But have a great night, and we'll, if the creek don't rise, we'll do it again next week. All right, bye-bye.